friends, welcome back or welcome if you're new here to my channel. My name is Caroline. I like to do knitting and crocheting videos on my channel, and today I'm going to show you how to optimally use Ravelry. I definitely had some conversations with people that have trouble to figure out how they filter things through Ravelry, how they add things to their stash, etc, etc, and so I figured I would make a video about all the questions you may have about Ravelry and just walk you through every single feature that they have on their website. Now, I will not be getting into the forum side of things. I will purely be focused on patterns, projects, and yarns. Alright, when you first log into Ravelry, you end up on the homepage. And up top we have the main navigations. You've got the patterns button, the yarns button, community button, and support button. And right here we've got the advanced search, which is one of my favorite features. Then we go to messages, notifications, my notebook, and pro. This is for if you have a pattern shop on Ravelry. I will not get into the pro section either. Alright, most people come to Ravelry for patterns, so that's where we're gonna start. We're gonna click on patterns, and then this is the page you land on. I personally don't really use this page. I only use the advanced search, but we're just gonna walk through it. You've got debut patterns. These are first patterns from new designers. Your pattern highlights. This is kind of like a For You page on Ravelry. So this is where you get recommendations of patterns based on the ones you've interacted with before. And then these are just categories you can click on. Free pattern button, also fun and useful. Recently added patterns, things you've looked at before, and patterns that are hot right now, so basically popular patterns at the moment. I do both knitting and crocheting, so usually it's on that button, but if you only crochet or you only knit, you can select those buttons and the debut patterns and pattern highlights will adjust accordingly. Now let's go to the advanced search, because that's really where the magic happens. Ravelry has one of the most powerful filter systems that I've come across on any pattern crafting website, and it can save you so much time, so let's get into it. Right here you've got your filter search. First you've got language. Now I speak English and Dutch, so I will tick those on just for this demonstration. I do both crochet and knitting. I don't do machine knitting or loom knitting, so I will leave those unticked. Also, with each category, you've got a second window you can click on, and this is actually something really important that I think a lot of people don't know about. If you tick on more options, you can choose match any of these. So either of the ticked sections are alright. Match all of these. So in this case, it would be a pattern that uses both crochet and knitting, or exclude all of these. So this would mean that you are excluding all crochet and knitting patterns in your search. Now we obviously don't want that, so we're going for match any of these. Then we go to categories. They have a lot of categories. I am mostly a clothing knitter and crocheter, so I would go to clothing, say all clothing, or if I'm looking for a particular something, for example, I'm looking for a sweater, I can select pullover or cardigan, or if I'm looking for socks, I can go to accessories, feet, legs, socks. And I can even select if I want ankle socks or just mid-calf socks, etc, etc. Again, their categories are pretty extensive, which is really nice if you are looking for a particular something. Next one is has photo. This is just whether the pattern has a picture of the product or not. It doesn't even have to be of the product. For example, here we've got a mystery cowl, so you don't actually see the end result, but it does have a picture. I always click yes, because for me there's no use in having a pattern that I don't know what it's gonna look like, so I always select yes. Then, if you have a particular fiber, for example, if you have a cotton in your stash you don't know what to do with, you can click on cotton here and you'll get patterns that are suitable for cotton yarn. Now, this is not to say that any other patterns that won't come up are not suitable for cotton yarn. This is obviously more of a suggestion, but it does sometimes help if you need something for stretch that you don't get patterns that are designed for cotton. I usually leave this alone though. Then you've got age, size, fit. I am an adult, so I would click on adult, so I won't get any baby or child sizes. Ease really depends if you have a preference or if you're looking for something specific. Fit, Again, preference, and then gender. Then right here we've got availability. So this is where you would click on free if you're looking for free patterns. These are basically what type of document it comes in. So this is if you purchase it online. This is usually when it's outside of Ravelry. A Ravelry download is a document that's inserted into Ravelry, so you can buy it on Ravelry and you can download it straight from Ravelry. And then purchase in print. I think that those are books and magazines, I believe. Don't quote me on that though. In my library, these are patterns that you have. So either patterns you've bought on Ravelry that are in your library, or free patterns that you've added to your library, or patterns you have bought outside of Ravelry but want in your Ravelry library. You can still put in patterns that you haven't bought from Ravelry in your library, so it at least is all in one place. Colors used typical. This is actually a really fun one. For example, if you're looking for scrappy projects, you can click on 6 or more. It's a really easy way to find lots of color work projects that use tons of colors. This is actually one of the filters I use when I am looking for my scrap patterns in particular. This is your yarn weight. Very helpful if you've got some yarn in stash that you don't know what to do with. You can click on the weight that you have and it will only give you patterns that use that weight. Yarn held together, I like the individual yarn weight, so if I have a fingering and a lace weight, I click both of those on, and then, I don't know, we've got some weird filtering going on right now, but it will show you every pattern that uses fingering and lace weight yarn held together. Then you've got yardage and meterage. Now, I don't know anything about yardage because I am European, so I leave that alone and I go to the meterage. But this is very fun for, again, if you have a single skein in your yarn stash, you can filter on patterns for the yarn that you have. So you can fill in, for example, I've got one sock yarn left in stash. You can click on 150 to 300 meters and weight fingering, and then it will give you all the patterns that only use a single skein of fingering weight yarn. Hook size. This is mostly useful, I think, if you have a particular hook you want to use. I don't know. I usually go on gauge and or yarn weight and not from hooks, but you might be someone who uses hooks instead of yarn weight. It has hooks and needle sizes. Rating. This is basically what other people have rated the pattern you're looking for. So if you only want 5-star patterns, you can click on a 5-star. Difficulty, same thing. If you only want very easy stuff, you can filter it on here. This is again rated by other people on Ravelry that have used the pattern before you. Crochet terminology. I think this is actually a new section, very fun. This is where you can filter for crochet if they're using US or UK terms. Very helpful. I like this. This way you can never accidentally download a pattern that uses UK terms and then get really confused, which definitely has happened to me. Alright, and then here you have a bunch of other stuff you can filter for. Something I in particular would like to put your attention at is gauge. For example, if you've already done a gauge swatch, you can filter on gauge. Can be useful. Right, then right here I want to also highlight the fact that you can save a search. So I actually have one saved search right here, which I called free. This is something I have filtered in advance. Patterns that are free, crochet or knitting, have a photo and are English. And this way I can actually keep track of all the new free patterns that are being published in a pretty fast and efficient way. It is a little bit later, but I completely realized while editing this video that I skipped over one of the most important parts of the filtering. So I wanna just put this in here because it is quite important. It's actually one of, I think, the most powerful things in Ravelry's filtering system, and it's called the attributes. This is great for if you have an actual vision in your mind of this is what I want. So say I want a drop shoulder, I can put that in right here by design elements. I can go to sleeve and then I go to drop shoulder, and then I can click on what kind of neck I want. If you do this, it is important that you say match all of these. If you click on match any of these, it will just give you patterns that have V-necks and that have drop shoulders, but it will also give you patterns that has V-necks and no drop shoulder. So match all of these, and then it will give you only patterns that have both drop shoulders and a v-neck. Construction is also fun. If you know you want something that is worked in around, you can click on that. Or maybe something that is seamless. This is fun for if you know you have a preferred way of working on stuff. Fabric characteristics. This is nice if you, for example, are looking for a cabled sweater. You can click on cables and we'll only give you cabled stuff. Pattern instructions. For example, if you prefer a video tutorial, you can click on video tutorial or written pattern. It even has options for low vision, digital braille, digital audio, colorblind accessibility. So it has a lot of options also for accessibility's sake. You can even say, for example, right here, pattern instructions, video tutorial. Now it will give you things that are drop shoulder sleeve and have a v-neck and are in around and are seamless and have cables and has a video tutorial. But say I really don't like video tutorials, I can go to advanced and not video tutorial. So that is only gonna give you other options outside of video tutorials. Or if you're looking for a drop shoulder sleeve pattern that does not have a v-neck, you can say and not v-neck, and it will give you patterns that don't have v-necks. So the advanced filtering is even more powerful in case you have like an actual very solid idea of what you want. In the end of the video, I'm gonna go over different prompts and show you how you can filter for those. Right here, you can click on projects. Now I, in particular, want to show you this because I use this for finding scrap yarn patterns. Same exact thing right here. You've got colors used, 6 or more, and then you can see other people's interpretations of patterns. So this is also where you can maybe find patterns that aren't intended to be scrap patterns, but see how someone has made it into a scrap pattern and get inspiration that way. So I did want to show you that. The filters are exact same as with the patterns. The only thing is right here you can filter if a project is in process or a project is finished. Handy, because if you are looking for inspiration, finished projects are usually a lot more useful than frog fur hibernated projects. Local yarn store is a fun one. This is where you can put in your city or postal code and they can give you all the yarn stores that are added to Ravelry that are in your neighborhood. And they also have a road trip planner. And this one you can put in where you're leaving from, what your destination is, and how far you are willing to detour from your road. So it will give you all the yarn shops that are on your way to your destination. And I think that's a really fun feature. Other than that, I don't really use the yarn tab here. I do use my own stash tab, but we'll get into that. You can also go to advanced search right here. Instead of going through the pattern tab, you can also just immediately advanced search right here. All right, my notebook. When you first click on that, you'll get to all your projects. To add a project, I usually go from a pattern. So say I have made this, I say custom projects, create this project, and then right here I can edit everything. So I can say who I made it for. If I have a deadline, I can put it in. I can put in which size I made it. Right here, pattern category, so I can filter through all my projects easily in the future. Put in the needle or the hook I've used, gauge, and right here use stash yarn. All the yarn you've put in your stash already, you can access through that button, and you can just say, I am using this yarn. And then you can also say, or enter totals instead and say, I've used 139 grams of this yarn, I don't know. If you are using yarn that you haven't put in stash, you can say just add yarn and you can go from there. But I always actually put my yarn in my stash, so I can use the use stash button instead. You can put in notes, you can even put in private notes. These are notes that only you would be able to see. Right here you can put in how happy you are with the project, how far you are, and your starting date and the date you finished it. And then you just click on save changes and you go to your notebook and you've got a new project. So these are all my projects. You can also filter and sort these accordingly. You can even advanced search your own projects, which works the same exact way as patterns. Then you've got your queue. This is for stuff that you want to make, planned stuff. You do this by going to the pattern. You can click on add to queue and you can even already put in which yarn you want to use. And then you save changes. That's how you add things to your queue. It is now all the way to the bottom. Let's say I want this back on 1. I can either say I want it in 1 You put in one and then you go right here, you say save new order, and then it's on number 1. You can also click on this button. This is for it to go to the top, and right here you have a change order button, which you can just drag them around. But this is very fun for if you are looking into what you like your yarn to become, and you can put it right in your queue if you have figured the patterns and stash combination out. Then you go to stash. This is where all your yarn resides, or at least for me. Right here you click on add to stash, and then name of stash yarn. So say we Twisty Sock Frog Mouse Studio. I can't type apparently. Studio. Right here you can choose this yarn, and then you can put in the colorway, how much of the yarn you have. So if you bought it new, you can just leave it at 100, but you can also adjust it. If you bought it secondhand, for example, you can say enter totals instead and type in the amount of grams you have. This is also useful for if you have bought a mini, so you can say 20 grams of this yarn. You can put in where you purchased it at, when you purchased it, and what you paid for it, etc, etc. You can put in pictures. It's actually quite straightforward, and this is very fun because you can click on any of your yarns, and based on your grams it will also calculate the meterage. So if you don't know how much meterage your yarn has for filtering, you can see that right here. You can also see which weight your yarn is. You can click here on projects and you can see what other people have done with this yarn. A very fun feature. Then you've got your hand spun. This is where you can put in your hand spun. So you say add projects, I don't know, cat. And once again, you can put in all the information. Tools, you can put in which tools you have. I don't really use this, but you can. Favorites, if you come across patterns you like or projects you like, you can put them in your favorites. You can even make collections of your favorites, so say patterns that you want. I also have sock inspo, other people's projects. So that's a really nice way to collect all the patterns in one place, or all the projects in one place, all the things you really like and want to keep. You can put it all in your favorites and it will end up all in one place. And then library is where you can find all your patterns, either that you've bought on Ravelry or have added through the pattern page. I do know I have a ridiculous amount of patterns. Don't come for me. Alright, here I am again from the future. I wanted to show you how I would go about filtering for a yarn that I have in stash that I don't know what to do with. So first I would go to my yarn stash and click on the yarn. So we're gonna select this Casa Sol Bamboo Owl. Right here it says how many grams and how many meters. I'm gonna keep that in mind and go to pattern search, advanced search. I'm gonna click on English. Craft, I could go for both crochet and knitting. I don't really have a preference. Category, I do know I want to make a clothing item. Has a photo, yes. Adult, yarn weight. It was a DK weight yarn. We can see that right here. Now we know 914 meters. So we're gonna go to meterage. And we're gonna click on this one right here. Now if you don't mind making multiple projects out of one scheme, you can also click everything that's underneath there, but I would like to use up as much of the yarn in one project, so I'm going for 750 to 900. And then it's just a matter of looking through all the projects that come up and see if there's anything that piques my interest. And then let's say this is what I want to make with that yarn. I'm gonna go put it in my queue, use stash yarn, and then I'm gonna put in this. Now if you are, for example, for this pattern using fingering weight yarn held double, the fingering weight yarn won't come up because it's a DK weight pattern. All you need to do is filter to and either put in fingering or just all yarn weights, and you can search through your entire stash. Then you're just gonna put in save changes, and that's how you match your yarn to pattern using Ravelry. Alright, and that is it, really. It's actually pretty straightforward once you get get into it. I hope this helped you. If it did, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Let me know if you have any more questions, if I didn't explain anything that you are uncertain about, or if you have a question about something I showed you or something I didn't show you. Feel free to leave them below and I will try my best to answer them. If you want to see more of me, you can follow me on Instagram and on Ravelry, and you can also subscribe to my channel. We are doing Vlogmas, so you will see my face every single day up until Christmas. And without further ado, I will see you guys tomorrow.